This couple are about to go into family therapy. They're both actors improvising a scenario based on a real family therapy case, where our character Alex discovered her husband Andrew had been having an affair during her recent pregnancy. The family therapist they're about to see, Moshe Lang, is not an actor. He will counsel them as he would any couple or family he sees in his professional practice.
It's Alex, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah. And Andrew.
Yeah.
And you used to be a teacher. What did you teach?
Primary.
Whereabouts?
I've taught all over. I
All
was
over
doing
the-
emergency for a while.
And what do you do, Andrew?
In advertising.
And you have a 6 months
Yeah.
baby girl, Lily. Yeah. I'll tell you what, I like to chat to you a bit more, but time is short, so maybe I could first ask you, how do you feel about coming here today?
It's good. It's good to be here.
Yeah?
It's difficult. You know?
What's the difficulty?
Well, it hasn't. You know, we haven't been having a good time. And there's a lot of, shit going on between us. So, and I don't normally do therapy. So,
That's your first experience of therapy?
it's mine. Yep.
What about you?
In my early 20s, I suffered a little bit from depression. So
You suffered from depression, or you still suffer from depression?
I suffered from depression.
It's behind you now?
Yeah.
So tell me more specifically, what brought you here today?
Andrew's been having an affair.
Can you tell me more?
Just like that. But it's finished. It's been finished for a while. But while I was pregnant with the child with Lily, I started having sex with someone else.
And when did you first find out?
I had my suspicions for a while, and then I asked him. Just after I'd given birth, I asked him.
And what was his response?
He said, "Yeah, yes."
And what effect did it have on you?
Oh, I've got a baby. We have a child. We have a child. So I want to move on, and I want to forgive him, and I want us to be a family.
And put it behind.
I want to put it behind us.
Shortly after you had the baby, you asked Andrew, and he said yes. But it took you some time to come. What happened from the time that you discovered it until you came to see me?
Well, I thought that in asking him and him being truthful, that I would be able to be okay.
And?
I'm not okay.
So in what way are you not okay?
I don't trust him.
I see. And you're very tearful. Andrew, can you tell me how you see things?
Well, we have a beautiful daughter. She's stunning.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really sorry for what, the pain I've caused. When I look at Lily, I just want us to, want that to keep working, for us to keep working for her.
Mm-hmm. So the way you think of it, how do you imagine I could best help you?
Get out the magic wand and...
I thought that was what you would tell us.
No, but I'm very interested in your view, you take on it, how you imagine I could best help you.
Well, yeah, I guess often it feels like we struggle to talk, we struggle to look at one another. We're sleeping in different rooms. Some strategies to help us build some communication and for trust to start to be present again.
Mm-hmm. What's your view of it, Alex? How do you imagine I could best help?
I don't want everything to be like it was before. I want everything to. I thought that I could. I don't want him to touch me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want him to leave the house. I don't want him to come home. I don't. I get angry when he's holding Lily, and I get angry when he's not holding Lily. And it's like he wants everything to be, he thinks everything can just be happy families now. But it's really hard, and I'm really tired. I'm very tired. And Andrew's working, and I'm feeding at night, so I can't. So I know that it's my job to look after her, and I want to look after her, and I am.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm a very good mother.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Why are you saying at this point that you are a good mother? Does Andrew doubt it, or anyone else doubt it?
I don't know, do you?
No.
So Alex, can I get you back? How do you imagine I could best help at this point?
Well, I imagined that you have seen people like us before.
I have.
Who you have helped, who you have... because when I look at the future, I just see... I don't see that we can keep going on the way that we're going, and I don't want Lily to grow up with all this stuff in the house, and I thought that maybe you could show us how to go forward.
Maybe before we talk about the future, can you tell me about the history? What was it like before you had Lily? What was it like between the two of you?
Before I was pregnant?
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
We share a lot of similar interests, and it's a lot of fun, and both pretty active in the world, and
Active doing what sort of things?
I was working and We were just living our lives.
And the way you both see it, your communication was good, you were able to talk to each other comfortably, there was trust between the two of you.
Yeah.
And all of this is now gone?
I wouldn't say all of it from my point of view.
Well, I haven't done anything wrong, so.
No, you never do anything wrong.
What do you mean by that, Andrew?
Yeah, Andrew, what do you mean by that? What do I do wrong?
Well, I'm not trying to excuse what I did. But, you know, when Alex became pregnant, it was very much about her and the baby and her
What
relationship to her body. Well, you know, like it just felt there wasn't much space within you for me. Like you got very...
And what's wrong with that? It's 9 months. It's 9 months.
What's wrong with it is that I'm still here. And it's ours, not just yours.
You're referring to the baby now?
Yeah.
She relates to the baby as if it's just hers and not...
I was lonely, which is why she was my friend. She was my friend for 9 months, and now she's still my friend.
And responsibility. So how do you see that, Alex? I mean, Andrew is telling me that he feels that you treat Lily as if she's exclusively yours, not his too.
I don't.
Do you know what he's talking about?
Andrew's at work. Andrew works very long hours. He's often gone by 7:30, 7:45, and he's often not home until 8. So he doesn't actually get much of a chance to see her. And she's a baby she's her own person, and she makes her own relationships.
So, in a way, you're saying that you want Andrew to be more involved.
Of course I want him to be more involved.
Yeah. With both you and the baby?
Yes. Yes.
Do you mind telling me when you first met and the history of your relationship?
We met at a party. It's nothing spectacular or unusual,
So you met at the party, and what happened then?
Well, you know, I'd argue about spectacular.
Meaning?
Well, I was struck by Alex. I walked into this party and she was on a balcony, and I can still see her in the dress, and she looked spectacular.
And what happened then?
Then we had some drinks and conversation and started dancing, and then we went home.
And then?
Then we started seeing a lot of one another.
And then?
And then we started living together and got married. And
tell me, maybe, how do you respond to what Andrew is saying?
yeah, that's what happened.
So the way you see it, of all the men in the world, why did you choose to marry him?
Because he was alive. He was talking and sort of slams his fist down on dinner tables and holds court, and I like that about him. And we have great friends, and we.
You had great friends?
No,
Or
we
you
have
were,
we
you
have
were
great friends together. We made a life together.
Could you define it for me? What were the qualities in Andrew that appealed to you so much?
I want to say all these. I want to say because he.
But you don't want him to hear.
No.
hear it.
I'm thinking of all the qualities that I wanted in a partner, that I wanted him to be, and that he isn't. So I can't say I would like to say, because I knew that he would keep me safe, and that he would look after me, and
But that's what you thought at the time.
No, I knew even at the time that wasn't who he was.
So at the time you knew that he may be a bit dangerous or not so safe.
Yeah.
So what was the appeal? What in Andrew?
This it sounds cliched. He has an electricity about him. People are always attracted to him.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be. Men want to be his mate, and women want to fuck him.
And
That's sweetie.
what's that quality, you think?
It's magnetism.
Yeah.
It's animal magnetism. You know, he walks into a room and everyone looks.
So it's both chemistry and electricity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not exactly good father material, though, is it?
So is it now that when you discovered about him, what's the word you use? An affair? Is that the word you think?
Is that what we're calling it? Your thing? Your fling? Your...
Go on, just pile them on.
I don't think any of those words are particularly offensive. Would you like to talk about it in some other way?
What's the word you use to yourself, Alex, when you think about it? What was it that...
I don't have a word.
You don't have a word for it?
No.
If you had to choose a word, what would it be?
It's betrayal.
What word would you choose?
Fucked up.
Literally.
But can I bring you back to when, of all the women in the world, why did you choose Alex?
It wasn't a choice, it was just, I saw her and I knew I wanted to be with this woman.
You had no choice.
No. I had never felt that before.
See, that's a load of crap, because we always have a choice. We always have a choice. You had a choice. We always have a choice. That's what being a grown-up is all about. That's what being a father is about. And you chose me. And then you chose her. And who knows how many others. So don't say you don't have a choice.
What were the qualities that made it so that you had no choice?
I'd never experienced wanting a woman being drawn to a woman on so many levels. Initially, you know, she was a vision. And I could feel a charge in me that I'd never experienced before. And then, as we were talking, I just all of me wanted to be with this woman. She was setting me off in my heart, you know, she's engaging and lively and incredibly across so many, you know, areas of So the conversation was dynamic, and I wanted to just, you know, I wanted her in my life.
Mhm. But what was it about her that had such effect on you, can you say?
It was her eyes. Her eyes, and why she'd smile when she'd finished a sentence.
Okay, let me just sort of think aloud about what I hear you telling me so far. You met, you were very, very attracted to each other. At one point you decide to get married, and you feel that your relationship was a very strong, very good one. Good communication, good trust, great intensity. And then at one point you get pregnant, and here you are today in great distress. That the trust between you is, I don't know what word to use, severely damaged or destroyed. A lot of pain, a lot of anxiety about the future, confusion about how you deal with it. Your ability to talk to each other, to communicate with each other, is also severely damaged or gone. Presumably there's also a lot of, not just hurt, but a lot of anger and resentment and a sense perhaps of betrayal. And for me it leaves me with two questions. Question one is, I'm very interested in your view, how you get from that point where things are so good between the two of you to the point in which you are today. Do you understand what I'm asking?
We had a miscarriage before Lily.
And
And I got very frightened that we would never have a child. And I got very and so when we did get pregnant again, I was just being very careful. I just wanted to be very careful. And maybe I was too. No, I don't think you can be too careful. And I know that everyone says that it's fine to keep having sex and to, you know, exercise, but I didn't want to, and now we have a daughter. So I don't think it was such a huge sacrifice to make for this tiny bit of time. But I was very anxious during the pregnancy, both pregnancies, and I think Andrew found that he didn't understand. Andrew's an optimist.
so do you feel that your sense of it, that Andrew may have felt rejected by you, pushed away by you? Both.
Well, I was doing it for us so that we could have a family. I didn't mean to push him away.
But was that your experience, that you felt pushed away, you felt rejected?
Yeah, I felt, you know, so much of how we related was, you know, a sexual relationship was important. It was part of our intimacy. It was part of how we, you know, And to have that, not to have that present.
When it wasn't present, what effect did it have on you, and what meaning did you give to it?
It just seemed, you know, if we had a, you know, a day where we hadn't got on, or, you know, in the past we, you know, often our way of making our way back to one another was through sex, and we didn't have that as an option. So suddenly the dynamic was very different. How do we try to resolve this or move forward? When we, you know, I think we just started to be a bit more separate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
Were you able? Did you talk to each other at the time about it and other things?
I talked about why I didn't want to have sex. It wasn't like a great mystery.
Mm-hmm.
It was really, and Andrew would say, the doctors say it's going to be fine, and there's you know, there's nothing to worry about, and then he would take it personally, like I was personally rejecting him, and that's not what I was doing. That was not what I was doing.
But your sense of it is that's the way he experienced it.
Yeah, I know he did, and I would try to make it up, you know. Like, I don't know what happened.
No, the way you both tell it to me, the way I understand what you're saying is that you did not want to have sex at the time because you felt that it wasn't safe, that you are risking your pregnancy by having sex. But you thought of it as that you're doing something that was necessary, but also something that you're doing for the sake of both of you.
Yeah, and I do know, like when I hear you say that, I do hear how ridiculous that sounds. I'm not an idiot. Like, I know that it's okay to have sex. I've read the books, and I'm an educated woman. I just felt. So that's the thing. Like, it sounds crazy. It sounds like I'm this uptight, and that I was being irrational, and I just.
But my point was that the way I understood it is that, rightly or wrongly, you felt at the time that you're doing it as something for the two of you. And Andrew experienced it as painful rejection. And that created some difficulties between the two of you. Tell me something else. When you had the miscarriage, what effect did that have on you? And on both of you?
I think we're both very upset. You know, we wanted this child, and we just felt its heartbeat and seen images of it, and then it was gone.
Mm-hmm. How far into your pregnancy were you when you had it?
We had a scan at 8 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and the baby was there, and then we went in for our 12-week scan, and the baby had died.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that something was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew thought I was just being anxious, but I had this feeling.
So looking back, what do you think, what effect the loss of that pregnancy, what effect did it have on your relationship? Did it bring you closer together, you think, or
Yeah.
created more distance between you?
Andrew was beautiful. He was really, really beautiful. I thought it brought us closer together because we were in this thing. But then I don't know. What do you think?
I did. You know, brought us. It was hard. We were both hurting a lot. But yeah, I mean, we hung in there with one another. Really.
But that painful experience brings you closer together.
Yeah.
Then you are keen to get
We got pregnant pretty
Pregnant.
much straight away.
You get pregnant straight away. And so that the very thing that you are so keen to have happen to you happens to you.
Yeah.
And a year later or thereabouts, you are in this room being miserable as hell.
Yep. Yeah.
And all of this is because you refused to have sex with Andrew during the time you were pregnant. Is that what
Yeah,
you're telling me?
I didn't refuse. I just said I refused. But like Andrew didn't try and force himself. I mean, didn't get to a point of having to refuse. It was just,
You were reluctant.
yeah, we didn't have sex while I was pregnant. And I knew that Andrew was struggling with that, and I knew that he was reading more into it than, and I tried to explain to him, but it became bigger than it was.
So looking back, if you had your time again, what do you think? How should you have handled it differently? Would you have handled it differently?
Looking back, yeah, handle it differently.
What would you have done differently?
Listen more to Alex's fears and anxieties.
Mm-hmm.
You know, nine months it's a bit a blip, really. You know.
So you should have, looking back, you should have listened to Alex more, to her anxiety, to her fears,
Yeah.
and
Employed Mrs. Palmer and her daughters a little more than looking for relief outside of our marriage.
who is Mrs. Palm?
Mrs. Palmer and her daughters. Oh, wanking.
That's a new one for me. I'll tell you.
I've heard that one before. Where is that from? Like grade 6? Mrs. Palmer and her daughter. Oh, okay, right. Okay.
Mrs. Palmer and who?
It's the palm.
No, I understood
Yeah,
that.
well, I didn't. So.
Yeah. It's Mrs. or Miss?
I usually say Mrs. Palmer. I like to think she's married. She has 5 daughters.
She's married.
I haven't analysed.
But you assume she's married.
Wrongly or rightly, I've made the assumption that she is married.
So many reasons.
And she's very experienced.
Yes, and she has inculcated
Okay, can
her
you just-
daughters with it.
That's so wrong and so gross, and you should stop now.
Maybe. Maybe the good news is that you could still laugh together.
See, I know, even there, it feels like there's a sense that sex is wrong, you know. It's partly what I hear when you say that.
You asked before if we were looking back, what would we have done differently? I've thought about this a lot. And this does not, I'm not excusing Andrew, and I'm not, but I was very difficult to be with. And I know that. I was very, very, very frightened.
Mm-hmm. So in what way you think you were too you were difficult to be with?
I cried all the time, and I don't know how many ultrasounds. We don't have private health insurance, but I just kept having ultrasounds. We'd go to the GP and I'd get another referral, and I'd go and I made Andrew come to all these ultrasounds, which we didn't need to have.
So you think you were driving him crazy, really, with your anxiety?
Yeah, maybe.
So looking back, what should you have done differently?
Oh, I don't know. I think if we ever have a baby again, I will watch myself, and I'll get help if I feel that level of fear again, which I don't think I will, because we've got Lily now, and we've got her now.
So you think that in the future
I don't think I will ever feel that level of fear again.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll be frightened about other things, but I won't feel that fear.
And the fear was the fear of...
I'll never be a mother. I'll never have a baby.
Tell me, when you were so terribly frightened, so terribly worried, you talked to Andrew about it at the time?
Mm-hmm.
And how did he respond?
That everything was going to be okay, and there was nothing to worry about, and...
So did you experience him as supportive and reassuring, or did you experience him as sort of minimizing or dismissing your anxiety?
No, I sort of both of those things, because he was being supportive, and he did genuinely believe that everything... I knew that he believed that everything was going to be okay.
Yeah.
And
so he's usually the optimist in your relationship, and you're the worrying one. Mm-hmm. And tell me, apart from Andrew, when you were so anxious, so worried, did you talk to anyone else at the time about your fears?
I talked to my mother a little bit.
And what was that like?
She's not very well, so it wasn't... I couldn't really... I didn't have anyone that had experienced what I was experiencing. So no, just Andrew, really.
Look, time is... We'll have to stop shortly. We need to stop in about another 5 or 10 minutes. Okay. So that one or two things that I still want to raise with you. One is this. Is there anything else that you would like me to know at this point, that you think I should know, or it's important for me to know?
Not from me.
Mm.
That I love Alex.
Mm-hmm. The one thing that you both made, I think, perfectly clear to me, both in the words but also in the music, is that you want to stay together. You want to make a go of it for your own sake and Lily's sake. The problem for you is how to go about doing it. And if I understand correctly, one of the main issues between you is that you don't want, or you are unable to, just put it behind you. Things need to be done, you feel. That what you're worried is that what happened would be minimized or trivialized, and rather than dealt with properly. That's the way I understand, I think. But let me ask you both, is there anything that you would like to ask me before we finish?
I guess for me, do you have a sense of how many sessions we're likely to need or require.
Mm-hmm. How long will it take? What about you, Alex?
I was going to ask, are we going to be okay?
Let me answer both questions. Answer it at this point, I don't know. It's a bit like, asking how long is a piece of string. Meaning this. Sometimes I work with a couple like this, like you, and we worked for a relatively short time and we sort things out. But sometimes we may, and you may want to work with me for a much longer period of time, because there may be other issues also that crop up. So just because it takes longer doesn't mean that your problems are more insurmountable, but rather because we all three feel that we work well together and there are other issues that you want to raise with me. But the answer is I don't know at this point. But in relation to your question, I have some sense of optimism about your situation, and I want to tell you why. I already said that it seems to me that what you are telling me is that you are both deeply committed to each other and to Lily. You have both talked with me today, I think, very openly, very freely. And my sense is that when you talk to each other, you also listen to each other. So one of the first things that you wanted to restore in your relationship, the capacity to communicate with each other, in a sense already happened today. You did talk with me and with each other. But we need to stop because of time. So what I'm suggesting is this. That in a way I'm stopping now because time is up rather than because we came to some meaningful place. So what I'm suggesting is let's get together next week to talk more. Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah.
All right, so let's call it a day now, and I'll see you next week.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
One of the reasons why I think it was a good session was because it felt like life itself. There were tears, there were moments of uncertainty, confusion, and laughter.
It was good. Yeah. I mean, I think we've got a long way to go.
And the fact that the three of us could laugh together because it was funny, not because we were laughing at one person or another. It was a good, healthy laughter.
Yeah, well, I feel like we were actually talking and we haven't been doing that. So, and yeah, we have got a long way to go, but I think there's possibilities for us.
For me as a therapist who sit in this office day after day talking with people, unless there is some laughter, it becomes bloody impossible. It was a very good session for a whole lot of reasons. One, they both did talk freely, openly. Obviously, there is much more that they could say and would want to say, but it's a beginning, from my point of view, of a process. So it went very well that way. I think not only did they speak freely, they listened to each other. By all probability, they have heard each other say things that they may not have heard before. It probably was very important for both of them to go back and talk about the past. Having had a very painful year or whatever it is, to talk back and tell another person about the attraction, the positive that was part of their relationship in the past was probably very important and very helpful for both of them. For Alex, probably must be a lot of rage and anger that would still, as well as perhaps some self-blaming, that she failed her husband and therefore she is responsible for him having the affair. And for him too, there is a sense probably of a huge amount of guilt, as well as perhaps anger and resentment about feeling being pushed. He also said something else that I did not follow up, and I think it may be very significant. About her, I forgot how he put it, but the implication was that she is holier than thou, and that she occupies now the high moral ground, and he is down in the dumps that he is the immoral, the guilty party here, and so there's a lot more that needs to be talked about. The other thing, from my point of view, was the relative loneliness and isolation of this woman. Here she is, petrified of losing the baby in her second pregnancy, and she did not find anybody to talk to who she felt connected to, who gave her meaningful support and reassurance. Is it a comment about her, the world she lives in, about their relationship to each other? I don't know, but it stood out for me as a very significant feature of these people's life. And also, is it so because it's not so much her social isolation, but rather than here is a woman who her fears and anxieties are so deeply ingrained in her that no amount of reassurance and listening could give her the reassurance. And that is the cause of the isolation, if you see what I mean. And similarly, is it also possible, I'm asking myself, that for Andrew, if he is with her and she is petrified, she is anxious, and he tries to reassure her, and she is not reassured, does that make him feel inadequate, inferior, and is that one of the motivation that drives him to another woman? Don't know, but it's possible. What stood out for me was that the affair was not talked about. And sooner or later, I imagine, they may need to talk about it. Meaning, does she know who the woman is? Has she asked lots of questions? Has she not asked any questions? If she hasn't, why? The more typical reaction is when a wife, or a husband for that matter, if a wife discovers that her husband has been unfaithful to her, she doesn't let him sleep nights asking questions. She wants to know lots of the details. And usually he's exhausted eventually. But this, I think, has not happened. Maybe she's too tired looking after the baby, or I don't know. But that stood out for me as an issue that perhaps we would need to revisit. Usually they come to therapy and the husband asks me directly or indirectly, could you please stop that third degree because I can't live with it any longer. That, in a sense, very often it's her curiosity, but also her way, perhaps, of extracting punishment, or also try to understand why did you choose to go and spend time with this woman? What does she have that I do not have? So obviously, every time that a thing like that happens, it impacts on the self-esteem, self-worth of both people, as it were. And that's one of the issues that needs to be dealt with and perhaps resolved for this couple if we were to continue to work together. One of the reasons why I think it was a good session was because it felt like life itself. There were tears, there were moments of uncertainty, confusion, and laughter. And the fact that the three of us could laugh together because it was funny, not because we were laughing at one person or another. It was a good, healthy laughter. But the other thing about humor is that humor allows people to see things differently. You know, when you are so tight, so angry, so anxious, you could see things only one way. And in a way, therapy is about helping people to see things in a different way, new way, or a number of ways. So the humor was a very good sign from my point of view. And in a way also, you know, for me as a therapist to sit in this office day after day, talking with people, unless there is some laughter, it becomes bloody impossible.
Meg and her 21-year-old son Daniel have been constantly arguing since Daniel moved back home 3 weeks ago, unannounced. Meg, distressed by the situation, has made an appointment with family therapist Moshe Lang.
Your name is Meg,
Yes.
isn't it? Yeah. And you are?
Daniel.
Daniel. And how do you like being called?
Or Dan.
Then what do your mates call you?
Danny, probably. Danny.
And your mum?
Daniel.
Daniel. Mm-hmm. So what do you think I should call you?
Uh,
You want to leave it to me?
yeah,
Oh,
well,
okay.
it doesn't matter.
Okay, all this.
Daniel.
Danny? Okay. You are a carpentry apprentice, is that right?
Yeah.
Where do you do your apprenticeship?
My boss builds new houses, so all around, but we're working out.
I see, so it's in the building industry that you're doing
Yeah.
it, really. Right. Mm-hmm. Do you work outside of home?
Yes,
What
I
do
work
you,
in the city for the
Do
state
you-
government.
doing what?
I'm in the multimedia department,
Right.
doing community projects.
Actually, I would like to talk more about all this, but maybe because time is short, could you in the first place tell me what brought you here today?
I asked Daniel to come with me. He's just recently moved back into the home with me,
Mhm.
my house, and where I live on my own.
Mhm.
And 3 weeks ago he moved in, and sort of straight away there's been a lot of tension between us. We've been arguing, and I'm finding it difficult.
What have you been arguing about?
Just petty things, really.
Like what?
Where the car gets parked, and
Mhm.
food. I feel like I'm doing all the shopping, and
Mhm.
I suddenly feel like he's taking up a lot of my space,
Mhm.
and I don't
So-
want to
so-
be arguing. I don't
so-
want to be arguing.
And
So I want,
the idea, the initiative to come to see me came from you?
yes.
What's your take on what's happening between you and your mum?
I just guess that I don't know. I shouldn't have moved. I probably shouldn't have moved back. But
Why do you feel you should not have?
I don't know, because probably because Mum doesn't really want me there or something
Well,
like that.
it's not that. It's not that I don't want you there. Well, just that it's. You just come in and your stuff's all over the house, and I can't find, there's no room for my things, and I feel like I've enjoyed it being neat and tidy for once. You've been gone for a few years, and suddenly you just come back, like, just feels like a big explosion in the house. It's music and...
So if Danny behaved differently at home, you'd be happy for him to stay?
Yeah, yes, I think feels a bit more complicated than that.
Complicated in what way?
Oh, I feel like I'm... Oh, his father and I separated 5 years ago, and I'm just starting to find a sense of who I am, and I would like Daniel to be there, but I feel like we need to talk about it. To talk about it.
So what is it that you need to talk about then?
Oh, I feel like I want to be understood by him, and I want to know more about him, so we can be like friends in a house, perhaps.
So what is it that he doesn't understand about you that you want him to understand?
Oh, that I'm a full person and not just a mother. That I have a life that I want to live, that's with friends coming to my house, and I want some sense of respect from him for the things that I like.
So what are the things that you like?
I recently I joined a choir, a local choir, and I feel like he doesn't really, he doesn't value the things that I'm trying to do that are new in my life.
Such as what? You're singing in the choir?
Singing and my friends. And you don't share anything with me. I feel like I want to talk with him, and he doesn't want to share with me.
And what sort of things do you want to know about Danny that he doesn't share with you or tell you about?
I'd like to meet some of his friends. I'd like to do some things together.
Such as what?
Oh, I'm going to see a film or something like that.
Danny, how do you feel about what your mum is saying?
It's okay. I didn't... I just think I think the choir's funny, so I made...
Why is it
funny? Well, it's just because it's funny you singing and doing this warm-ups at home and stuff. I don't know, I just find it funny. So, I mean...
I listen to your music all the time when you're around. I'm doing something that I enjoy. Don't know what's wrong with that.
Danny, from your point of view, I could be as helpful as possible. What sort of things should we sort of talk about, address, try to improve on?
You could wash your clothes.
You're saying that
yeah,
I should do the washing for Danny? Is that what you're saying?
No, I think he could do his own washing.
I see.
Yeah, I could probably lift my weight around a bit more.
And that's what you would like us to talk about? You doing your own washing? Or there are other issues for you that you want us to talk about?
I thought that it would be alright. I thought that it would be alright for me to come home and you know, crash at Mum's place for a while, and I thought that she was going to be like, I thought she was going to be happy about that actually, because she said that she wanted me to, you know, be around more or whatever, and so I don't know, I just think.
So is what you're telling me is that you don't feel welcome back home, that your mom is not happy about you coming back, and that's your main concern?
I think that's why we're here.
Mm-hmm. That's why you're here as far as presumably your mother is concerned. But the other issues that you would like to put on the table?
I don't know.
Fair enough. Okay. Let me ask you, come at it perhaps differently. For your life to be as good as it can be, what changes would you like your mom to make so that you'd be as happy as you could be?
Or she wouldn't like ask so many questions,
Mm-hmm.
and like mum nags a bit, and it gets, I don't know, it's just, I don't know, I'm 21, so I figure that I should be able to, you know, stay out or whatever. Like, yeah, she wants to know everything about everything. So maybe if she just was a bit more chilled, it would be.
She respected your privacy more?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. On this, you have a very different take on this. One of your main concerns that you mentioned before is that you would like Danny to talk to you more and share more about his life with you. And he's saying the exact opposite, that he would appreciate if you don't ask so many questions and not nag so much, using his term.
I want him to just behave like an adult, really.
Mm-hmm.
He's come back to live in my house.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't pay me any board.
Mm-hmm.
I just
Mm-hmm.
feel like I'm somehow being used for the house. I don't, you know, it's just not, you could come in and just talk to me like of course not like a friend, but just, you know, we could have a meal together occasionally. I don't feel like I'm asking for a lot, but just some, you know.
So you feel strongly that what you're asking, what you're expecting of Danny is perfectly reasonable.
I do.
Yeah. And you feel perfectly at ease, and it's reasonable of you to ask your mum to not ask so many questions and be so intrusive, perhaps.
It's sort of the way. It's not. So, it's like I don't mind. It's sort of the way that. It's the way that she asks the questions or whatever. It's the way that you.
What's wrong with the way she asks the question? How does she ask?
It's just it's annoying. Like it just annoys me.
Is there another way that she could ask the questions that would not be annoying?
Probably not. Probably not.
Do you think it's in your mum's nature, or it's the nature of mothers that whatever?
Yeah, it's probably.
Mothers are.
Yeah, probably.
So, more seriously, there is no way that she could ask the question or questions that you will be comfortable with? Because you said before it's the way she asked the questions.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's like I'm always doing, it's like that what I'm doing is not, it's not right, or it's not good enough, or whatever. So it's sort of, yeah.
So the way I understand what you're saying, Danny, it's that to your mum, she asks you questions that just because she's interested. She wants to have a conversation. But I think you're saying is that you hear criticism, and that's what maybe you're reacting to. Do you feel criticized by it? And disapproved?
Guess so.
Mm-hmm. Like what? What sort of other things have you felt criticized or disapproved of by your mom now over the years?
I don't know, it's like, I don't know, all the stuff around, I mean, all this stuff, it's like I'm not home enough, or it used to be that I wasn't home enough, and I wasn't, you know, not doing school well enough, and that sort of stuff, just that sort of, you know.
Mm-hmm. Okay, maybe if you agree, no, before that, there's one other question I want to ask you. How did you happen to come to see me?
Well, I'd heard about you through a friend,
Mm-hmm.
and when I was separating from my husband, we had some counselling before.
Oh, you and your
husband
or ex-husband now?
My ex-husband.
Uh-huh.
And I felt it would be a good idea to see someone together, so that we could avoid some huge conflict.
What was your experience of the counselling with your ex-husband?
Well, we separated and divorced, but what was it? It was... I felt like I never heard from him the things that I wanted to hear as a wife. And
such as what?
A respect for my thoughts and what I wanted to do in life and do together. Didn't feel like... Well, he didn't come after 3 times. He scoffed at it. He scoffed at it, really. I didn't think he was just going through the motions, really.
Right. And what was the experience like for you to talk to the counsellors by yourself?
It's like I began something, began some understanding of myself.
And you did not complete that?
No, I kept going for 2 years.
And?
For the last 12 months, I feel like I've been living on my own in this lovely little house in Caulfield, and I felt happy and happy without the conflict or the feeling of oppression of nobody talking to me in the house. I had your father not talking to me, you not talking to me, feeling like I was just always doing everybody's little chores. And I've been enjoying doing my own little chores.
But no, what interests me is that you went to see this counsellor, and you continue to see her or him?
A woman.
You continue to see her for 2 years.
Yeah.
And at what point did you stop?
I think I had a feeling that I wasn't so sad anymore. But I didn't want. I sort of like I didn't want to be sad anymore or confused.
You had enough of being sad and confused.
Yeah, I felt like to be honest, that I actually was going to enjoy myself out of my marriage, and that felt like what the truth was for me.
Right. Tell me, since you started telling me, tell me the story about the divorce and what you said something to the effect that you left home at the age of 18, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Where did you go then?
I just moved out with some mates.
With mates. Mm-hmm. And what was it like for you leaving home at that stage?
It's good. It was good to get my own space, and it was fun to like it was good being around my mates and stuff.
And then what happened? What made you want to come back home?
That I've moved to another house now, but all I had, and it wasn't like then the lease came to an end, and plus coming to the end of my apprenticeship, so I sort of need to save some money to buy some tools and stuff. So it was, made sense to move in with Mum. Plus she had this other room, and
so when you first brought up the idea of you moving back in, what was her reaction?
He had to move back in. He didn't have any money.
I see.
I just came home. I should have probably. I don't know. I just figured it was alright just to come back. Like I didn't.
You didn't come back to
think it
see
was-
me though, did you? You came back because I would look after you.
I don't need you to look after me like that, though. I don't. Like I've been
Like
looking
what?
after myself for 3 years.
Like what?
Well, I don't know.
You don't even like me, Daniel, the way you talk to me. You want to come in and have a room, get me to cook for you, and do everything, and you don't even have one little word to say. You scoff at all the things I do.
How do you feel about what your mother is saying? To use my words, I guess she's saying that you use her place, your place. It's like a hotel or something. But,
I don't know.
you don't know what to say. Let me take a detour here. Do you mind telling me between you what happened around the time of the divorce, separation, etc.?
I feel like our marriage just sort of dissolving over about, 10 years really. And
So the beginning of the end happened about 10 years ago?
I don't know, there wasn't really any big crisis or stuff. I can only talk about it from looking at it now where I am. I didn't know at the time.
Mm-hmm. So looking back, what can you say?
We didn't talk to each other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There was sort of like going through the motions of a marriage, really.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we went out with our friends, and I don't think that I was being me, really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I didn't know. It's hard to explain it now. But anyway, we couldn't stay. I couldn't stay there. It's like I realised I had to leave.
So the initiative came from you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it did.
And tell me, what's happening between Danny and you at the moment? Does it in some way remind you of what happened with your ex-husband and you?
Yeah.
In what way?
Oh, having him around and someone I love that doesn't want to communicate with me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Doing everything. It feels like I do lots of things for him or for us, and it's not reciprocated.
So you feel unappreciated.
Yeah, but I also feel like I care. I want to have a feeling of family, and I just yeah.
Let me ask you another question. In what way do you think that Danny is similar to his father, and in what way you think he's different? And I'll then ask you the same question, if it's okay.
He's kind to his friends.
Mm-hmm. Just like his father?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What else?
I know there's sort of a he seems self-assured.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What about the opposite? In what way do you think they're different?
I was hoping that they would be different. Oh.
And are they?
Well, are they? Yeah, they are.
In what way?
Well, I think that Daniel is... I think he's more interested in things in life other than sport.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In what way you think you are similar to your dad?
Pretty loyal to friends, and both probably drink too much,
Who drinks too much?
Both of us.
Both of you? You both drink too much?
Yeah, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably what Mum really wanted to say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, and...
so you think she wanted to... So she didn't say that, what, not to get you back up or something?
Yeah, maybe.
Fair enough.
I think I probably don't work as hard as Dad, which I think is a good thing. When it comes to Mum, I don't want to be like I don't want to be like him. Like I don't want to make her feel like she felt. And
Danny, do you remember the time of your parents' marriage getting into trouble and their separating, getting divorced and all that?
Yeah.
Tell me what it was like.
Dad was an asshole, and
Asshole how?
he was an asshole to Mum, and like he'd come home and he'd snap sometimes and go off his tree, and I don't know, and then they'd...
Was he abusive of your mum? Was he violent?
I don't know, I guess a bit, like...
Mm-hmm.
but it was mainly, I don't know, it's just the stuff that he would say as well, and that sort of thing.
What did he say? Do you mind telling me? Is it okay if Danny tells me?
Yeah.
Mhm. What did he say?
It's all right.
He'd just call her like a dumb bitch and stuff, and and accuse her of not telling her she wasn't. I don't know. She did nothing, and he'd say she was worthless.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Tell me,
And then
of all the memories you have of the conflict and things that were happening between your mom and dad, what is the most difficult, the most painful memory you have?
I was sitting on the back step with my dog.
Mm-hmm. And?
Just talking to her, and I don't know. I just felt I don't know, like alone, like it didn't matter where.
Do you mean that they were so busy dealing with each other that they had no time to pay attention to you? And you felt all alone then?
Yeah.
I didn't know that you felt so alone. It sort of makes me feel like I don't know what Daniel's experience of it has been. He was so secretive and rude to me even then.
So what Danny is saying now, is that totally new to you? You never heard him say that?
No, not really.
He has never talked to you and told you about his experience of the divorce and the unhappiness at home was like?
No. Is that why you were so secretive?
I'm not actually secretive. Like I don't have heaps of secrets or anything. It's not like I'm.
How am I supposed to talk to you? Tell me how I'm supposed to talk to you.
I don't know.
I just ask you normal questions. What have you been doing? How are you? Where have you been? It does make me think of him like his father.
Danny, can we go back to the time that you were still at home? Can you tell me more about what it was like for you when things were difficult between your parents?
I don't know. I didn't spend I guess I went missing in a way. Like I didn't. It wasn't good to be around it. Like it was hard to be at home, and
when things were difficult between your parents and your father was calling your mom all those names, at one point you were just with your dog feeling lonely. At other times,
with friends.
With friends. Did you ever talk to any of your friends or anybody else about what it was like for you when your parents were in difficulties?
like everyone has parents that split up and stuff like that. So I don't know if I really talked about it.
Let me change the subject altogether. Imagine if your dad was here, sitting in a chair here. What would and he heard everything that I said and the two of you said. What would he say at this point?
Rubbish.
Well, not much.
He'll say it's all bullshit, it's rubbish?
Yeah, it's a load of rubbish. Oh, this, he'd think it was a load of rubbish.
I see. Right. And he would have nothing else to say?
He'd like in this, like here, he'd shrivel up and he wouldn't say anything, and then we'd hear all about it in the car on the way home, probably. Or something
What would you hear on the way home in the car?
Yeah, what a load of shit it is, and...
And if I turned to him and said, what's his name?
David.
David. I said to him, David, when you hear Danny talking about what it was like for Danny when the two of you were fighting, what would he say about that? When he hears you describing you upset and distressed, what would he say?
Probably say, pull yourself together, but...
Or you'll be all right.
Cut it out.
You'll be all right.
Pull your socks up.
I don't know if he would say pull your socks up, really.
You'll be right.
Just you'll be all right. You know, it's... Don't worry about us.
So...
He doesn't know how to talk, that man.
Danny, you agree? So in a way, what the message indirectly from your father is to keep things to yourself, not to talk. Because there is no point in talking, is there? Because you don't get heard.
Yeah. I don't know, yeah, I guess so. Like he wouldn't... Yeah, he wouldn't talk. He wouldn't even know what he's random. Like he wouldn't even know what he thinks, I don't reckon.
You mean, and he would never have stopped to think to himself that when he called you mother names, when he what effect it had on you, and he never...
No.
No? So your well-being, what you think, what you feel, what it does to you never occurred to him?
No, probably not. Yeah, he's a dickhead.
So you reckon, you're telling me that he's a dickhead, to use your language. And when your mum says to you, here in front of me, how similar in some ways you are to your dad, what does that do to you?
I don't like it. I probably am more like him than I want to be. Like I don't... Yeah, I probably snap from time to time or whatever, and I don't know, can say things that I don't mean, and I can... Yeah, I probably don't, maybe I don't talk about things probably as much as Mum would like or whatever, but...
You make me feel like a dickhead.
Danny, the way you said it just now, I heard it differently. I heard also, I don't talk as much as maybe I would like to, because I don't want to be like my father.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you know what I mean?
Huh?
This is tough going, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is there anything else that at this point of time you think I should know that you haven't told me that would help me to know?
I think that I'm saying that if things were going well between us, that I would like Daniel to live with me. But I don't know if that's really true. I like my space.
So even if Danny was the perfect son and behaved perfectly, well, you're still not sure that you would want him. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is it a difficult thing for you to say?
It's alright, like it's fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't, like it's, I was seriously, like I just wanted to save a bit of money and come back for a little while. It's not like I really, you know, like I don't want to stay for long anyway.
But
I just wanted to save some money and come back and whatever. And I don't need that sort of shit anyway. Like I don't need this. I don't need to feel like I have to be on my tippy toes and not leave shit around. And I don't need to have all of that sort of shit to deal with anyway. But I didn't want to be a hassle. I didn't want to be a stress for you anyway. I just wanted to crash for a little bit anyway, and so it's fine. Like it's fine.
Let me put it into words and see if you agree. Maybe what you're saying is this: after you and David separated and divorced, it was a very difficult struggle for you to get your life organized again and feel good about yourself and your space and everything. And when Danny came back, it disturbed all that for you. And in a way, you would like to have a good relationship with your son, but you're not sure that you want to share your home with him at this point, after him being away from home for three years. But you're also very worried that if you ask him not to live with you any longer, that it'll create all sorts of difficulties for him, as well as for the both of you, and for your relationship.
Yeah.
And in turn, Danny is saying to you, listen, Mum, I'll manage all right without living with you. Just give me a few weeks.
But he hasn't.
He hasn't?
Well, he's come back to me with no money, and I feel like he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't turn up to his classes at the college for the apprenticeship. I know that, and I feel like I should, as a mother, have him at home.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, so for you it's partly the struggle between what you owe to Danny, what you should do as a mother, and what you should do as a person in your own right, in terms of looking after yourself and your own needs. That's your... Danny, is there anything from your point of view that you think I should know before we finish? Anything that you particularly like to tell me?
I think that that I can be an asshole too. That, and I don't necessarily mean to, but I can be.
Okay, tell me one last thing. Is there anything you want to ask me?
Would it be useful for us to come again?
In my view, I think it would be. It would be useful for the two of you to come back together. It may also be that it would be very useful for the two of you to come separately. My own sense of it is that maybe in some sort of a way, on one hand you wanted to say a lot, but you were also protective of each other. And it may be that it would be easier for you in some way perhaps to come also separately. But I don't know what your thoughts about it are, but in my view, the conversation you had with me today potentially is a very productive, very important conversation. See, if I understand it correctly, Danny, for the first time today, how it felt for him when you and David had your difficulties. So even that alone, you're starting a conversation that may be a very, very important one. Similarly, it may be that, that Daniel is a very gutsy fellow who the last thing he said to you and to me was, to use his language, that, what did you say, you could be an asshole sometime or something, or a dickhead, I forgot which part of the anatomy we were using. But that, you know, that he is able and willing, and it may not be so easy, particularly when you're 21, in front of a stranger, to say, look, I've done my share of wrong things. Particularly when there is the shadow at the back of what happened between you and his father. So, to be honest, I was impressed with what did happen today. And I think my own sense of it, it wasn't easy for either one of you. But I think it's important. I think it's very important what took place here today. And there's another dimension to it, in my view, that in a way, part of your struggle with each other is a very healthy and appropriate struggle between a mother who wants to have more conversation, more communication with her son, and a son who is struggling perhaps to establish his own independence and autonomy. And that's a very healthy struggle. And to varying degrees it happens, and it should happen between parents and children. But I think probably one of the things that makes it difficult for both of you is that to what extent is history repeating itself, if you know what I mean by that. To what extent, when you get locked up in disagreement, it touches on old wounds or open old wounds for both of you. And with this in mind, I think, in my view, there is more talking that I think is probably worth doing. Would you be willing to leave it on that basis?
I'm happy to agree to that, but
Yeah.
maybe we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm exhausted actually. It was good. So much I want to say, so many more things to talk about. But I'm glad Daniel came with me.
I probably thought it was going to be a lecture or something a bit more, but yeah, it was good.
Well, I'll come back. I hope that Daniel comes back. I'd sort of like him to come on his own, really. Just seeing him talk and hearing. I don't need to hear everything. I'd just like him to open up.
I haven't got any easy answer to the question of how to break into a teenage world and how to make the inarticulate articulate overnight, etc. However, maybe the way to answer it is by quoting Mark Twain, who once said, "When I was 18, I thought that my father was an utter idiot. When I was 21, I thought he was pretty good. The only thing I couldn't work out is how he managed to change so fast." So maybe within a short time, Meg is also going to miraculously change. And from her point of view, Daniel is going to change. In other words, what I'm saying, partly it may be a stage in the life of the family, in a relationship between a mother and a son. It was hard going for me, it was hard going for mother and son, and their life is hard. So what happened in the session, to varying degrees, reflected, I think, their lives. And as such, and I think therapy should be like that. So I was comfortable with what took place. You can't expect people whose life is very difficult to come and make the session with you sound like a breeze. But I did, and I said it to them. I thought it was a good session. Like for me, I guess the struggle for mother was that on one hand, she wanted to tell me about her difficulties and distress and her criticism of her son, her sense of being used and maybe abused. But on the other hand, I guess she felt that if she were to let herself go and tell me chapter and verse about that it would reduce the likelihood that he would then be willing to open up and talk with me. Because to some extent, I guess that's what she wanted of me, is to offer help and support to her son and draw him out and make it possible for him to talk more freely to me or to someone. So she was sort of struggling, as well as struggling between her needs and wishes as a person in her own right and her responsibilities as a mother. It's not just a mother struggling with a child, a 21-year-old child, but it's a woman struggling with a man. And that was what she said in a way. The whole thing was a revisit for her of what happened to Meg with David. And that's what also wives complain when they come to marital therapy with their husband, that too many of us are inarticulate, non-communicative, difficult people. And from Meg's point of view, it was therefore a double whammy. And if you think about it again, if she felt pain and disappointment and a sense of failure in what happened between her and David, to what extent what's happening now with Daniel is the repetition of the very thing that she experienced previously. I don't have an easy recipe of how to deal with it. Perhaps apart from quoting Mark Twain, who once said that, he said, when I was 18, I thought my father was an utter idiot. When I was 21, I thought he was pretty good. The only thing I couldn't work out is how he managed to change so fast. And maybe something like that is going to happen between Meg and Daniel. That there is something about it which is part of the growing up process.